Is there a relationship between culture and identity, you feel? Or how does your culture shape your identity?
I think at the individual level, being represented by religion or by nationality or by caste, creed, gender is a sign of backwardness and lack of maturity. Although the non-democratic establishments, the establishments which want to control and manipulate, will love all this aspect to be part of identity. And this has been going on. We are giving too much importance to the stereotypes. Yet, suppose I have to say how I feel or what I am made of or what is my uniqueness, or any person's uniqueness. So in case of me, I think it will emerge that it's the kind of work or to some extent value system, to some extent aspirations that one has. So if I am labeled or if I am functioning as design activist, educator, researcher, that probably is certain identity. And because all these things are happening in a Indian situation, so obviously certain linkages with history, with uniqueness of the local situations, of the Indian situation, will be, I think that will be the nearest thing which I can think of as the identity for a functional reason, practical reason. See, the culture, identity, and many aspects of this kind, unfortunately, have been taken away from the context. There's a great amount of distortion. And I think today, the way they are being used by academicians, by establishment, by people in general, in a very loose, casual term, often design as a profession and design education is heavily based on the culture and identity. In fact, these are the central points of any work of design, past or present. I felt the conventional way of doing studies, research, debate, dialogue had a lot of limitations. Because although it sounded that you are somewhere or you are achieving something, ultimately I think nothing much comes out of such process. So what is the process? We felt that it was important for anything which is complex to understand is to first to experience it, second to apply it, and in the process of explore, experiment from your perspective, from the individual person, only the personal experience, direct experience, and also involvement as a process can lead to some understanding and action. So what we did was, some of the courses which were very industry based and very business and money based, we put another dimension of the cultural context. For example, we started a course called Craft Study and Documentation some 25-30 years back. And we said each student must spend 2 weeks with a community of traditional designers, craftspeople. And this was important that the design students should be able to work with them and in the process work together on a specific project or a problem. So two things were supposed to happen. One is to find out what is the perception of that community, those people, and what is your perception, and if there is any meeting ground, and then what you talk theoretically, how that is to be translated into something specific. I found that it was a very revealing, that it was no longer a talk or a chat on what is culture and what is identity, but something very concrete people could understand, feel, and to some extent articulate. So, as a part of process, each student was supposed to bring a documentation, a book like thing, and also, if possible, some new designs which are done in collaboration with the crafts people and crafts community. It so happened that the students found this situation to be an extraordinary. Today, after 25-30 years, we find there are over 500 documentations of the projects done by students and faculty by collaborating and cooperating with the crafts community. This is a monumental resource, and it brought so much of deep understanding of what is culture, what is identity at a grassroots level, and at the same time in the contemporary level. How do you make a mixture of it? And I think this is extremely important as a process. It's happening only in some design institutions. Unfortunately, this process is not happening in the other professions like engineering, architecture, and in my opinion, such a process should happen across in the university sector.
So, we'd like to know your perspective and view of what you see as Indian and what it means to be Indian.
There is nothing like one Indian, and that is the beauty and that is the strength of India. In fact, the strength and uniqueness is the diversity. This has been systematically over the years being damaged, declined, uncared for. There is awareness that this is the real value, this is the real knowledge. So, why it has happened? In my opinion, this is in a major way linked to the way we are organizing and the way we are managing the nation. I think if we say we are democratic, then democracy must happen. There cannot be democracy without democracy in the grassroots level, without democracy being practiced by small units all over. And again, the democracy will not mean one system or one way, because then it's not a democracy, then it's a regimentation of another kind. If there's a democracy at the grassroots and there's a diversity in that, and there's a possibility that people are able to manage the resources, including human resources and local resources, and share it with other people. And that becomes a real identity of India, which unfortunately is not there today. This is, in my opinion, linked to the kind of interpretation we are given to democracy. We have a constitutional which is based on that. But at the operational level, there is much to be done. We are blessed with so much diversity that Indianness means great diversity at many situations, at many places. Unfortunately, this concept has not been neither taken as part of political process, nor taken as a part of academic or at a university. The role of the university is to promote and facilitate this so-called the Indianness in the grassroots level, to bring what exists in the contemporary level, to process the traditional knowledge systems and bring it in with participation of the people to a global system, to a contemporary system. I think then it can be called Indianness. Otherwise, today, if you talk of Indianness, either in terms of color or a image or a decorationness or certain architectural elements and all that, I think it's in very superficial. I mean, it's just a gimmickry. I think there are two elements which I think is important. One is the process of democracy being actually practiced, going beyond rituals, going beyond voting, going beyond electing, but actually democracy being installed and practiced in the local situation. This is fundamental. The second one, the education system itself.
Are there any aspects of Indian culture identity that you feel nostalgic about? And is this globalized culture on Indian youth leading to an erosion of our heritage of crafts?
Fortunately, as a part of my work as a professional designer, I could travel a lot in India. We had one project many years back by the central government to to think about an institution of toy design and development in the country. So to do that, obviously, you have to travel in many pockets where this indigenous craft is being done to assess it and to see what way the so-called new institution will help them. So similarly, the other projects, whether in the indigenous sector or in the modern sector, it we had a great amount of opportunity to travel. Right from the beginning, I was very concerned with how our actions of design or design projects benefit many. It doesn't only benefit a one industry or one business group. Then how does it bring out certain element of so-called Indian identity? I traveled many places where these are the development centers or NGOs involved with the local situations and all that. One essentially act which hit me, or which I noticed very strongly, was the concept of Sarvodaya. That means anything what you do should benefit many and should not harm anyone. This, I think, is a basic refinement of the Gandhian concept. A lot of people have worked on this. In Anandwan Babamte's place, I think this is the central theme, but this is also practiced in many places in the theme. Later on, I made a project where I took my students to these centers to be able to spend 1 week or 2 weeks with them on a very specific project. When you take a concrete project, you also test yourself whether you are capable of doing professionally, and if you are not capable, what else you need to learn as a student. And you also start being humble and you appreciate there's so much knowledge and so much of deep experience outside the institutions with people. So I think this one aspect which is the Sarvodaya, which is the good for all, I think is a very quote is in Indian. Unfortunately, this is little as part of official agenda. It is actually involving young people right in concrete projects and problems, giving them responsibilities, and in the process they acknowledge the strength of societies. Best society is like a forest, it's not a garden. We are unfortunately trying to make it a garden as a beautiful, presentable, because in our own 5 years of election, we want to show a picture which should be so. It should be garden because it can be grown in 5 years. Nonsense. I mean, this is a essentially defeating thing. The role of the government and role of the policymaker is to make sound foundations and not the superstructures. Unfortunately, today development is based on superstructures. Whether it's a building, it's a highway, it's a flyovers, it's a water systems, it's a dams. All is being done as a creating sensation, a big money, a big thing, so that you can talk about it, you can advertise it. What is important is, have you created interesting relationship, equity among people. Of course, we need some roads and we need some vehicles, but what you need is ability to be able to live together, function together in a very equitable society. All what is being done in the name of development is going against it, is going reverse of it. How do you say it's great? In the name of globalization, in the name of contemporary modernization, we are making complete distortion. We are equating modern with massive transactions, which is not a modern. The modern actually is, are you able to create harmony? Are you able to create wellness? Are you able to create a society which can function autonomously? A society which can self-govern. And I think one of the possible way of solution is to reform the education system at university level, particularly, and also school system.